Merħba għal episodju ieħor ta' Bejn Xena u Oħra, programm fuq it-teatru f'Malta u dawk li jaħdmu fih. Jiena Nikolai Azzopardi. Il-missieden tiegħi llum huwa Stephen Oliver li huwa Ingliż, għalhekk il-programm se jsir bl-Ingliż Mr. Quddiem. Stephen is an actor, director, and artistic director of MADC, one of Malta's oldest theatre companies. Stephen has spent many years working within the Maltese theatre scene, helping shape productions both on and off stage. With MADC's upcoming production of Hamlet just around the corner and just two Pantos this Christmas, there's plenty for us to discuss. Stephen, welcome.
Very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning. So, as we said, you began your career in England and you came to Malta. How long ago was that now? 14
years I've been here this year. Yeah, I know, it's
okay.
gone really quickly. I only planned to come for a year and I've been here 14. I'm too lazy to go.
So what instigated your move?
I was kind of hunted for a job here by somebody who was a mutual friend of somebody else. And my plan, I'd never even been to Malta. My family had been here for holidays and things like that, but I had never even considered it. I came, I liked it. I went back home and carried on working internationally and in the UK because the time wasn't quite right for me.
Okay.
And then eventually the time was right. It was just one of those kinds that kind of fitted into place. So I came here to work for somebody, and then after a year I decided to kind of go freelance and do my own thing. And I've done that ever since.
Oh, wow, okay. And did you have any, preconceptions on what
absolutely,
the industry was?
No, absolutely none whatsoever. And in fact, when I first came here 14 years ago, I struggled to find productions to go and see. Because obviously I wasn't in the loop. I didn't really know. And in fact, the very first show I saw here was the Lockerbie play at Spazio Creative.
Okay.
It was the very first thing I saw when I came here. And I've noticed, even in those 14 years, the bulk of work that now happens.
Yeah.
I mean, now you're almost spoilt for choice in terms of going to see a production.
Yeah.
But when I first arrived, it wasn't quite like that until I kind of, as I say, got in the loop, and then I suddenly realised, there's a lot more than I imagined. I mean, I didn't even know where the theatre spaces were apart from Teatro Manuel. I really didn't know. So my first production here directing was at Blue Box in Msida, and in fact, I opened Blue Box for the production.
What show was that?
It was Feston. It seems such a long time ago now. But then, obviously, people get to know you get to know other people, and then you start to realise there's a lot more theatre being made here than you imagined.
Of course,
both in English and in Maltese.
So what was your first impression of the industry?
I mean, I saw Lockerbie, and it had some great people who I've been really fortunate to work with since, people like Alan Paris and Denise Mulholland and people like that. So already, and I went on the night, the guy who wrote it was there, so he did a Q&A afterwards. I loved the space, and I suddenly, the quality was of a very high degree. So I thought, I'm in the right place here. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
And if people have asked me, even my British friends, what's the standard like in comparison with the UK? And I have to say that the standard here is of an extremely high level. Obviously, it's different in the UK. As a professional actor, that's my job. Whereas many people who work here in the industry, they can only afford to do it kind of part-time. I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm a bit like Malcolm Garlier and Joe Zamit. I do this full-time. But I mean, I've always done it full-time. So that's really, to me, that's the only difference. I think the quality is very high. There is a kind of core group of what I would call strong actors, strong directors. You kind of know if you go and see one of their shows or they're in one of those shows, you know the kind of standard you're going to get. Understand me?
It's really great hearing you say that, especially because you have that experience abroad and come here. Because I say that as well. I say that our level of quality is really high.
It is very high.
It's sometimes difficult to compare because we think of the West End with their scale. They have that tourism, so they're able to.
And also the West End, there's a lot more money involved in performance. Exactly. There are a lot more performances. Full stop. Exactly. There's a bigger audience, obviously.
That's it. It's a multi-million-dollar industry there.
But I've seen the audiences here grow in the 14 years I've been here. I think the audience is kind of split down into kind of three. There are some that just go to Maltese-based theatre. There are some that go to both Maltese and English-based theatre.
Yeah.
And then there's an audience that goes to maybe just musicals or pantomimes.
Yes, yes.
That crossover has started to narrow.
Uh-huh.
People are being more selective about what they go and watch. I mean, I've just recently been in Amelie, and we were amazed at the response to that.
You had to add shows.
We had to add shows, and I think the reason for that is I think people are kind of going, well, if I'm going to spend €45 on a performance, would I want to go and see something I've seen already, or would I want to go and see something I've never seen before?
Yeah, yeah.
And also, I think there are a lot of actors and directors in Malta where they do have a following.
Yes.
You know, it's like if you go and see a performance with so-and-so in, it's likely to be of a high quality. And so I think people have become a little bit more selective. I know we reached a kind of stopping point where suddenly there were so many shows on at the same time. People were almost spoilt for choice. Which one do I go and see? I can't afford to see them all.
Of course, yeah.
So I think I've seen a slight shift towards audiences being a bit more selective about what they want to go and see. And I think that's a good thing, to be honest, because if anything, it pushes the standard up.
Of course.
And people go, well, you know, I'd rather go and see that because I know it's going to be of high quality against something that they're not sure about. Do you understand me? So I think there's been even 14 years I've noticed it.
I think as well, especially in the last few years, with stuff like, you know, Jamie's shows and the number of musicals increasing, I think it's becoming more and more like common for it to be like a casual night out, because we think of like the people who go watch like 2 shows a month, and go like but I think it's becoming more and more common.
I think so.
People.
I think so, and I think you're almost spoiled for choice now.
Yeah.
Do you understand me? I mean, there's always something on every week.
True.
You know, and so you are actually spoiled for choice, and I think it allows producers and directors to start to take a few more risks in terms of doing shows that are, I mean, when I first came here, it seemed that the shows that did well were the ones that people knew.
Yeah.
Like they'd heard of the title, or, I mean, even when I directed One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest here, it sold out. Because people know the movie, they know the book, or if they don't, they've heard of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Similarly with Amadeus, that sold out as well. And Amelie, some people knew the film. The film was its 25th anniversary or something like that.
Okay.
So even if you hadn't seen it, you kind of knew it. And on top of that, the publicity, the marketing was extremely good for it. Yes. And I think that's what led to why it did so well. And it had a very strong cast and a director that has got what I would call a following, if you like. People trust Dorothy. They know that it's got to be of a high standard and so on. And so, I mean, she's doing Jamie this year at Temi's Amelie, which is a risk.
Yeah.
But I think with that following, it's likely to do well. Do you understand me? And it's on at the same time as 2 shows that have been done before. So it'll be very interesting to see whether people go, do you know what? I've seen those before. I'd rather go and see this.
Yeah.
So like I say, in the 14 years, I've noticed this great change. And I think that's to be applauded. I don't think it's something we should worry about.
No, I think it's moving in the right direction. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do think also like the quality has only improved.
I think so.
Like we said, maybe comparing is difficult, but stuff like the writing is something you can compare directly. It's the smaller shows you can compare directly.
Exactly.
And I think the shows that have been like moved the most with have been in Malta.
Yes. Yes. I mean, the difficulty is now then translating that to outside of Malta. I mean, Malcolm did very well with his Magnus Coffin Key show, which is a wonderful show. I saw it when it was originally done. Yeah. And I'm not surprised. It exports very well.
And was made with the intention to export.
And that has paid off. I mean, it did really well at Brighton, and now it's going to Edinburgh. And to be honest, it doesn't surprise me. It's a very good export. The big barrier to break is the Maltese speaking export element.
Yes.
It would be lovely to see that happening. It would be lovely to see a Maltese production in Maltese being staged in Edinburgh, because within the Edinburgh Festival, there are languages from all over the world performing in their own language, not just in English. And it would be really nice to see that step taken.
I'd love that. I know a few years ago, Theatre None had taken Daxxejn Tarakwim Lilleli to Brussels, but I don't think much more than that has been
It's
done.
a difficult one.
Yeah.
That's small steps.
Yes.
But it will
it's
come.
such a
But
small...
I think it will come.
Yeah. I think so as well. I think obviously there's the step of like, because it's a language so few people speak, like, as in on an international level. But I don't see a reason why we shouldn't be able to in the future.
And isn't the Arts Council now trying to some initiative to build towards?
A lot of like Arts Council, I think like even like Espace Creatif, a lot of these institutions are starting to look outward into
and
like
I think
exporting.
I think that's only to benefit Malta, to be honest, not a deficit at all. It's only going to benefit.
It's pushing our culture outwards.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now that you're like, so you've been here for 14 years.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're now an ingrained part of the industry, or like do you still feel like a bit of
No, I don't feel an outsider at all. No. I'm very lucky that I've worked with some wonderful people, and they seem to want to work with me. So nobody's bored of my face yet.
Yet.
Not yet. So very much so. I'm very much integrated into the cultural element of Malta, and I feel very proud to be part of that. When my friends again in England say to me, "How's it going over there?" and it's like, I'm loving every moment of it. And I'll keep going until people tell me they don't want to see me anymore, or my mind goes. I mean, I'm 70 this year. I can still remember.
You don't look it, huh?
I can still remember the lines. When I can't do that, maybe it's time to kind of hang up my shoes.
Which is usually the actor.
Exactly.
Called,
exactly. But I do feel very much integrated into it, and I've been very fortunate. I mean, I've directed 2 Maltese productions.
Of course, yes.
And I don't speak Maltese.
So how do you do it?
Well, that was very interesting. The first one I did, which was Metamorphosis for the Malta International Arts Festival, I had a co-director, Dominic Side.
Okay.
And he looked after the language element, and I looked after the creative element. And I also had the script in English, so I could direct it as if I was directing it in English. And similarly, I did a piece for Ruben Patch a couple of years ago called Ideum, which was written by Malcolm, actually, which was all in Maltese as well. But again, I had a translation of it, so,
Yeah, that helps,
It helps.
And then I assume you have to be like, so this word, it's because the structure of the sentence is different.
Exactly.
So
I mean, when we did Metamorphosis, we had to cut it. Trevor Zara did the adaptation, and we had to cut it. But of course, me trying to say, let's cut that in English is actually 3 sentences in Maltese. So that was quite difficult. Lighting the show was obviously interesting because all the cues which come on lines all come in Maltese.
Of course.
But we got there. It worked really successfully, actually. And it was in kind of classical Maltese Metamorphosis. So when we auditioned people, they had to bring kind of classics of Maltese work. Classic poetry, because we wanted that the language to be really brought out in it.
So you had to rely on someone else's opinion.
But it worked. So, Dominic would turn up an hour before me and work on the scenes that I was going to work on in the language. Then I would direct it in English.
Okay.
And then we'd run the whole thing with the Maltese language tagged on top of it. So it and that's how it worked. That's how it came to fruition.
What an interesting process.
Yeah. So if you ask me if I feel integrated.
No, I feel you're absolutely integrated.
Yes, I feel very much integrated.
I mean, you're so integrated now. You're the artistic director of MADC,
which is a great honour.
And
great honour.
It's one of the oldest companies in Malta.
And obviously, my predecessor was Mary Luca Pini, who sadly passed away last year.
Rest in peace.
So it's difficult. It's difficult shoes to follow. She was a stalwart of Maltese theatre, and it's a hard one to follow, that one. But it was her who forced me to do it.
She pushed you.
she said to me one day in a conversation, we were auditioning a show, and she said, I think I should give this up now. I'm not as well as I was. Do you know anyone you'd think would want to do this?
Very
and then she looked at me and said, "You'd do it, wouldn't you?" And I said, well, if people wanted me to, and the next thing I knew, I was signing a nomination form, and the next thing I knew, I was artistic director, and it's a great responsibility, and it's great fun as well, because you get to interact with people who come up with proposals, and you look at them and kind of play around and see what's going to work. You know, I have to negotiate with the Malmo Theatre for a slot there, and all these kinds of things. And obviously this year, we have 2 pantomimes.
Of course.
Which is a whole different ballgame.
Yes.
So we're very excited. Obviously, the annual Shakespeare every year is a kind of highlight.
It's Shakespeare and Pantos, MADCs. But then these allow you to do these smaller shows.
And we wanted, myself and Steve Castelletto, who is the chairman, we were both new to the jobs. We very much wanted to take MADC forwards a lot more, you know, and make us back where MADC used to be, which was kind of one of the major players in the game.
Yes.
And I think we've, over the last couple of years, we've managed to put ourselves back on the map again, which I'm really pleased about. Our Pantos have been hugely successful when we moved to the Silesians. The Shakespeares over the last couple of years, I mean, Merchant of Venice sold out, King Lear sold out, and King Lear hadn't been done in Malta.
Which is fascinating, because I mean, that's my favorite Shakespeare.
But it was a risk, and it paid off, which meant we could take the risk to do Hamlet. You know, because again, Hamlet has not been done since I've been here.
Oh yeah, because there's this idea that the comedies do better than the tragedies.
But actually, the most successful Shakespeare production of MADC is Merchant of Venice. Would you believe? That's the one that always does well. It's interesting why, because it's not a comedy and it's not a tragedy.
And you know what I think it is? It is everyone's spoken about it at school, but it wasn't the stuff they did the exam.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's. I mean, we had to add extra seats when we did Merchant of Venice.
Good problem to have. Yeah. So how do you balance that tradition with the
that's an interesting one. I mean, in terms of the Shakespeares, we know, MADC knows that our audiences like the traditional costume pieces. It's a nightmare for the actors, because you can imagine in July, the heat of July, it's a nightmare. But I mean, we know people ring up and say, like, is it in modern dress or is it in classical dress? And as soon as you say, oh, it's going to be traditional, they book.
Wow.
It's almost like that's become such a tradition, it's almost had to stay a tradition.
Yes.
It doesn't, I mean, it doesn't move away from the fact that you could interpret it in a completely different way. I just think people like the spectacle of those costumes and that kind of stuff.
And it provides you with a challenge to have that element, but still make it your own.
And the costume designer has to take that into consideration in terms of... I mean, I was lucky when I played King Lear last year. I started in fur in the first scene, and by the time I got to the end, when I'd gone completely mad, I was simply in almost a white bed sheet. It was my favourite costume, because by then it was much cooler. And getting hosed with a fire hose for the storm scene was actually one of my favourite moments, because it was a chance to cool down. But I think people do like that. I think, for example, great companies like What's Their Names, they approach it very differently. And I think that's to be applauded as well. I mean, there is an audience that does like that. And so there's places for both of us. Do you understand me? They do very well audience-wise, because they go to alternative venues. They approach the Shakespeare in a very different way, but still true to the text. So I think there's a market for both of us. Do you understand? I think it has to be applauded. I think you know.
I think it's more to have a good way of working together. I do feel like, you know, it's very easy to get competitive.
It is.
But even a weekend has 3 nights. So so if you really wanted to...
That was the weirdest thing when I first came to Malta, of course, is that I'm used to doing 5-week runs, 6-week runs, 7 shows a week or whatever it is. And when I first came here, and they said, oh, it's just 2 weekends. I was like, what?
And that was probably around the time you came, was when we just moved from one weekend to two.
yes, exactly. So that was kind of a weird one when I first came here. But going back to what I said, I think there's a market for all of us.
Yes.
It's harder for us in the private sector because obviously another job, in terms of my job as MADC artistic director, is I have to look at it economically. We have to look at it economically. We have to try and make a profit, or at least break even, which is very different to maybe the public sector, which there's not so much of a pressure on that.
Yeah, which isn't a bad thing in the sense that obviously us who work because I also produce my own shows, we have to look at that sort of bottom line.
Absolutely.
But it's good that there are companies that don't have to worry about that, so they can just worry about the art.
Exactly. But it is a factor you also have to take into consideration. You know?
Absolutely, yeah. So now that you're artistic director, obviously MADC was started by the British who lived in Malta. Around, I think it's the 60s.
Something 50s, 60s, something like that.
That it was sort of handed over to the Maltese to run it. And now you're an Englishman who's leading it. How do you deal with that?
I don't think it's an issue, to be honest, because going back to what you asked me about, do I feel I'm sort of totally integrated? The answer is yes, of course I do. I suppose the plus side of it, without kind of blowing my own trumpet, I do come with quite a lot of experience, and I think that is handy. You know, I mean, Mary Lou had a hell of a lot of experience, both within Maltese theatre and in film here. So she brought a lot to the table in terms of, you know, I've seen a lot of plays, I've read a lot of plays, I've been in a lot of plays. So I don't really think that. I've never thought of that as, oh, this was British before and here I am. I mean, it is a Maltese company and I'm very honoured to be part of that. Do you understand me? So I've never really seen the differentiation between the two. I mean, the only thing that's similar is that the pantomimes that are done here are very much of the original British style of panto.
Are they?
Yeah, but I mean, British pantos are very similar. You know, the dame, you know, the political jokes. You know, if you go to a regional pantomime in England, it'll be about the local council, local councillors, you know, people who are on the television at the moment, those kinds of things. So it's very similar, lots of music, lots of fancy costumes, like elaborate sets, those kinds of things. Very much along the same route. The song sheet at the end is very a British thing.
Yes.
The walk down with all the different costumes at the end, how the baddies become good, all this kind of... All of that is exactly the same. It's a British model that goes back decades.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And so it's become... Even the Maltese panto is the same format.
It's the formula.
It's a very similar format.
Yeah.
So
I think
in that sense, they're very similar.
I do think there are some Maltesisms in.
Of course there are.
Like, because it's been here for decades,
of course,
you know. But it's definitely based on the UK.
Absolutely.
Because there's some stuff like there used to be like the woman who plays the male lead, and which
yes, traditionally in Britain, of course, the principal boy is normally played by a girl.
Exactly.
But interestingly, we've discovered with MADC, because I'm obviously doing Peter Pan this year,
which I'm going to be in,
that actually Maltese audiences are not all that fussed about having somebody as a boy played by a girl, whereas they're perfectly happy for a grown man to play a woman.
Of course, it's the name.
Exactly. So it's quite an interesting... I mean, I did consider it when I was casting it. Do I cast a female Peter Pan? Or
I think Peter Pan is like the archetype girl playing boy, in fact.
But decided against it in the end.
And to be fair, knowing who you got as Peter Pan is a good choice.
Yes, I think so.
So you mentioned Panto, and obviously we said we're doing 2 Pantos for Christmas. So how did that come about?
Well, of course, we'd already established ourselves at the Silesians. And we did Scrooge there, and then we did Snow White last year. And they both did remarkably well. I mean, they're completely sold out, both performances. In fact, in Scrooge... because you were in Scrooge as well. We had to add shows, do you remember?
Of course, yes.
But then it was our turn to do the Teatro Manuel panto this year.
Because there's the agreement between two different companies.
Exactly. And there was an agreement between Masquerade, FM, and MADC. And it was our turn. So we put a lot of thought behind it. And we realized that we would be stupid to give up the Silesians.
Yeah.
Because we'd already established ourselves there. So we took the decision, let's do both. And we're marketing them very differently. We managed to persuade Alan Montanaro to stay at the Silesians because he has a big following in that area.
That's it. And it's the audience you've built there.
Exactly. In a way, we decided on the panto choices quite early. I mean, Alan, of course, has written Hercules, wanted to do Hercules again. He'd done it many years ago. And, of course, we couldn't do Peter Pan at the Silesians because you can't fly people.
Okay, makes sense.
And we know Peter Pan has a huge following in terms of people love it as a story and so on. So, in a way, those decisions were the easiest ones. The hard bit is, of course, it's 2 lots of everything.
Of course, yes.
It's 2 lots of rehearsal rooms, 2 lots of set builders, 2 lots of crew, 2 lots of everything, 2 musical directors, 2 choreographers, 2... in fact, we're going to have to take another space for rehearsals.
For rehearsals, yeah.
So the logistics are enormous. We were very lucky last year, though, with Snow White. We recruited quite a lot of people to work backstage, and we've managed to keep them. So
you're able to.
So we think that's going to work. I mean, people like Chris from the Hair people, Michael and Guy. Of course, they already used to do 2 pantomimes anyway, so for them, it's not a major issue.
Yeah.
But logistically, it's a huge, a massive thing.
A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to some people who are going to be in the crew, and it was literally them talking. That person will be there, this person will be there, and it's like trading cards.
We've even got people approaching us saying, "I'd like to work backstage, but I'd really like to work backstage on Hercules, or I'd really like to work on Peter Pan." So, obviously, the difference is also I have a live orchestra for Peter Pan.
Makes sense.
Whereas we have the backing tracks and the keyboards for Silesians because it's much more practical.
Yeah.
So it's logistically, we're having to be very careful about how we market it.
Yeah.
Because we don't want one to become the poor cousin of the other one.
Which they're not, because they're
not, because they're very different.
It's different writers, different directors, different cast.
Exactly that. I mean, we'll advertise. Obviously, we'll utilise the fact that Alan is in Hercules.
Yeah.
But in a way, we're almost advertising Peter Pan as the Manuel pantomime.
Yeah.
And we know people just go to the Manuel to watch a pantomime. And in a way, they don't really mind who's doing it. They just go. It's a sort of tradition. But now we've built this core audience up for Silesians. We thought, why don't we just capitalise on this? And there are some people, of course, who will go to both.
Yeah.
So it kind of works out. It's kudos for everyone, really.
Of course, yes.
If it pays off, obviously we'll do very well from it because we're not doing it as a co-production with anybody. We're going alone.
Oh, wow, okay.
Which is even more of a risk, as you can imagine.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the kudos, if it works,
it's
enormous.
Of course.
And we've done it. We've got more pantos to come at the Silesians in the forthcoming years.
Of course.
Do you understand me? So we've kind of like got our kind of like nest egg there, if you like, a place where we know we're always going to be able to go. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. You know.
I can't wait for the double cast parties and stuff.
Yes. I mean, we've had to have 2 different photo shoots organised, 2 costume designers, 2 my set designers from England.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He designed Annie for Chiara Hisler.
Okay.
So he's, obviously, I've got to fly him over.
Of course. Yeah.
And always there's the whole flying issue. At one stage, I'm flying 5 people at the same time, including the dame.
Well, I can't wait to see it.
Got me? So it's a complex piece.
Absolutely. So next week we have Hamlet.
Yes.
And of course you are going to be in the cast.
Yes.
But as someone who has so much experience directing, how easy do you find it taking off the director's hat and being in the cast?
People have asked me this before. I think over the years, I've just got used to they are two very different jobs. I mean, some people probably thought when I first came here, oh, he's a director, so he's going to be a nightmare to direct. But actually, I'm like a lot of actors. I come to a rehearsal with almost a blank sheet of paper. I mean, I've already kind of got an idea about the play, obviously, because I've read it. But, you know, ultimately, it's the director's decision. And like all good actors, you know, I'll throw my full pennyworth in, you know, make a suggestion or whatever it is. But ultimately, I respect and accept that it's the director's decision. I mean, there's been some weird anomalies where, of course, I've been in it and directed it. And in those cases, I've always had somebody who's experienced overlooking me when I'm doing my bit.
Because there's only so much.
Can't look. I can't look. I mean, I know what kind of works to a degree, but you know, sometimes it's good to have somebody else look at it. So, for example, when I did Merchant of Venice, I directed it and I played Shylock. But then I had Ed Caruana-Galizia in the cast, who could kind of feed back to me and go, "Oh, Stephen, I don't think it quite works when you do." And if you do it that way, it works.
Yeah.
You understand me?
But it takes a lot of experience.
Yes,
you don't jump straight
it's
in.
not something that I would readily want to do.
Yeah.
Do you understand me? I mean, it was quite an interesting one with Peter Pan. I mean, of all the baddies in Panto, the only one I've never played was Captain Hook. But ultimately, you know, you sit back and you think, actually, pantomime is quite a huge enterprise.
Of course.
It's better to let somebody else play it and just oversee the whole thing as a director.
And you're also, you know, have a hand in the producing of it, so you're going to have enough to do.
I've got enough to do anyway.
Yeah.
It would have been a very easy temptation because it was one that I probably won't ever get a chance to play again, probably, in my lifetime. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes, so it is, for me, it's quite easy to remove that hat and put a different hat on. It's, you know, like, for example, Hamlet. I mean, I know Mike Manchon. We've worked together quite a lot. We were in King Lear together last year. Ultimately, he's the director. You know, I have an idea about who Claudius is in the play. I mean, it's quite interesting for me. In all my years, I've never done Hamlet.
Never?
Never been in Hamlet. I've never directed Hamlet. So this is like a new adventure for me. So it's actually quite easy to put the actor's hat on because I'm very reliant on the director and their interpretation and that kind of thing. So I don't really think it's that difficult. I mean, it's weird. My CV keeps like bouncing. So sometimes my acting credits are more than my director's credits, and then it goes the other way. It's kind of how it works. And so I just put one hat on and take another one off. Do you understand me? And I mean, very lucky this year because I haven't had to direct at all. I was in 1984, then Sunset Boulevard, and then Amelie, and now this, and then I'm in Rocky Horror Show in October. So I don't get to direct again until Peter Pan. So it's actually, I found it very easy, to be honest. It was hard when I first started.
Because I was going to say, usually, like, especially, you know, if you're professionally opinionated, which is what a director is,
exactly.
It's difficult to kind of...
And it's trying to find that fine line between, like, I have this little voice in my head that says, remember, Stephen, you're not the director of this. It rests on his responsibility, not mine. If it fails, it's not your fault. It's always the director's fault. Everybody realises that. So it's not my position to be able to do that. And I find that very easy. I don't find it difficult at all.
But then does the fact that you're a director and you're you know, constantly observing these actors and stuff like that, does it help you as an actor?
I think you learn all the time. I mean, I'm in Hamlet. I'm opposite people who are younger than me, and I'm still learning. I mean, I think theatre is organic. It's like you never really learn to drive because every time you go out in the car, it's a different experience.
Makes sense.
And so I mean, my thirst for this, if you like, comes from learning still. Do you understand me? All right, I have an advantage because perhaps I've had a lot more experience and I know how I analyse a production when I'm directing it and so on. But when I'm an actor, once I get the script, I'm not looking at it from, if I was the director, I would do this. That's not my brief. And you know, I've just been, when I was in Amelie, I was surrounded by these incredibly talented people.
Yeah.
And you think, sometimes in your career, you do a show and you think, I'm glad I'm in this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? I mean, sometimes you think, this has been all right, but I'll be glad when it's over. But sometimes you do something and you go, and it's because part of that is because these people you're working with, some of whom you may never have worked with before,
Yeah.
you suddenly realise how talented they all are.
And I think that's
very humbling, actually. It's hugely humbling. I mean, I'm humbled by the fact that they respect me because I've been doing this for 300 years or whatever. Do you understand me? But I'm equally humbled by them because I'm in awe of the time. And there are a lot of very good young performers in Malta coming up now. And I think that's amazing. I mean, I think it's incredible.
I mean, the standard from when I started, which is 2016, 2017, the standard just from then to now.
Oh, a huge jump.
Like the break. So I did 2 pantos. Like my last panto on stage was 2018, and then I did Ebenezer a couple of years ago. So the jump just in that period, where I was like, can I keep up? Because I was, especially with stuff like the dance, for example, which the standard has shot up.
Oh yes, massively. I'm in awe of it, and I think young people who want to do this, and this is the big problem where you have, and it was the same for me in England, really. I mean, my parents were nothing to do with theatre, and people were like, "Well, what are you going to do as a proper job?" And it was like, it seemed like a big leap of faith to go to drama school and go through all of that, and I'm seeing a bit of a change here because I think. Traditionally there were certain careers here which you were kind of expected to go into, and the arts in a way wasn't one of them.
Yep.
If you went into the arts, you were a bit of a rogue, a rebel. I think that mindset's slightly changing now, and I think people are going, do you know what? It is a valid career.
I mean, the number of people who are actually doing it professionally is only increasing year on year.
It's only going to increase.
Yeah.
I saw somebody the other day, a guy I worked with in a film, and he said, finally taking the decision to go freelance as an actor. And I think that's hugely brave leap.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to happen more. And I think that's only to be, again, we come back to the standards thing again.
Yeah.
Also, there are more people going abroad to train. And I think that's also to be, the best, for me, obviously I'm going to say this, but the best actor training is in England, if you can't go to America.
Yeah.
Specifically. If you want to do things like mime and movement stuff and all that, Holland, these kinds of countries have their incredible training. So seeing these actors, some of whom I've worked with, and when I used to actually teach as well, now go off to recognised drama schools in England for training.
Of course.
I think that's great, because if they come back, they're bringing all that skill set with them.
Yep. And this is also, like, we're just getting, as in maybe we're like a few years into the generation of people who started acting training at a young age.
Absolutely.
Right? Because the drama school started in the 90s mostly.
And now we're seeing some of those. Michaela, who I was in Amelie with, I remember teaching her at Masquerade when she was little.
Yeah.
She's a massively talented young woman, plays viola. She played live on stage. To see that, and then you understand why I say I'm kind of awestruck by this. I said to her once, is it weird being on stage with someone who taught you? And she said, no, I really like it. And I said, you know what? I really like it too. Because it kind of like seals the deal. Do you know what I mean? It's like this, we've all come full circle. Do you understand it?
And I think that's something that everyone goes through.
Yeah.
Especially
I'm honoured to be on stage with them.
Yeah.
Absolutely honoured to be on stage with them.
Yeah. Do you think that's weird there as a teacher?
I think because I've had some input in shaping them. They may say sometimes in a negative way based on my teaching style as it used to be. I used to be quite scary, I think, in terms of a teacher. But the results were always good. Do you understand me? I think it's lovely for them to see. I remember Joe Zamit saying to me, some kids came to see me in a show and they looked at me with these kind of open mouths afterwards, because they suddenly realised he does know what he's talking about, because he does this all the time. Yeah. He's a proper actor. Do you understand me? So I find it really heartening. I love it, you know, and it's like little Leia Grech, who, I mean, I taught her when she was little, and I mean, she was the fool in Lear opposite me, which was incredible. Do you know, an incredible experience.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved working with her. Now, she's off to drama school in England in September.
Her, yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, you think, oh, good, I had some tiny little part in the shaping of them, which is always hugely flattering, you know.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, I think it's, because we all like the idea of leaving the industry better than we found it, you know. So I think that's a very direct.
I mean, that's something. Yeah, I mean, I mean, when I've gone from this mortal world, I hope somebody, you know, thinks of me in Malta and says, "Oh, he made a mark on us." You know, he left a legacy, and you know, I mean, I'm lucky, I suppose, that I get to do both acting and directing. But I hope people remember that part of me, you know, that actually he came from England, but he was very much one of us.
Absolutely.
And he very much contributed to the cultural, you know, I'm a huge fan of all culture, you know, I love art and and I'm seeing things like the recent bicentennial thing and all that. I think it's all hugely to be, you know, anything we can do to put us out there. I think of myself very much as Maltese, even though I'm not a Maltese citizen. I'm a resident, you know. But I think of myself very much as England is now my second home. I'm only tied to it because I have daughters and granddaughters.
Yeah.
But it's very much my home. I mean, I live in the south, in the middle of nowhere, which I absolutely love. You know, my neighbours are all Maltese, some who don't speak English, but using interpretive dance and mime, we managed to kind of communicate with one another. But even them, I persuaded my landlady, who's Maltese. She came to see Amelie. She came to see Sunset Boulevard. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
So already they're like, okay, yeah, that's who he is, okay. And then it's like, I didn't realise. Yeah. It's lovely.
Yeah. So let's speak a bit about Shakespeare.
Yeah.
That's coming up next. What do you think makes Shakespeare endure this long? It's been 400 years since Shakespeare died.
I think it's quite an easy one to answer that. I mean, I think the themes of many of the Shakespeare plays are so clearly identifiable even today. I mean, it was quite interesting playing King Lear last year. I mean, he's a complete narcissist. And then we had Trump. Do you understand? It's kind of like... it's very easy to kind of link the two together. I mean, I didn't do a Trump interpretation, but you understand me. It's the actual subject matter is as relevant today. You know, it's a play about power and losing power and what happens when you lose it and you're undermined. I mean, you know, you've only got to look at the politics of today in any country, and there's a whole element to that. So I think there's that connection. I mean, it's weird. I remember when I was at school, I was at a boys' grammar school in England, and we did the Shakespeare year, and we were kind of forced to. I remember read Macbeth out loud in class, and it did absolutely nothing for me whatsoever. And then a new English teacher came in and took us all to see a production of Midsummer Night's Dream at Stratford-on-Avon. And it kind of flicked a switch. Do you understand me? I mean, I always say Shakespeare's really not meant to be analysed or studied. It's meant to be...
Which is how most people
and I think that's a big switch off for some people. I remember when I did Macbeth at the Manwell a couple of years ago for Toy Toy. When I developed it, I wanted to hit that kid in school who is completely switched off by Shakespeare. That's how I aimed it, and it worked. You know, otherwise it's just pithy reading. Do you understand me? It's like it was written by Shakespeare to be performed, and the best way to see it is performed.
Exactly.
And I think then you get past that barrier of it looks like a foreign language. I always used to say to kids when I was working with them on Shakespeare, I always direct a Shakespeare play exactly as if I was directing a contemporary play. No different.
Yeah.
There's no way to play Shakespeare. And people say, oh, no, the Shakespeare voice. There's no such thing.
Not if you're doing
There's
it
no
right.
such thing. This comes from years of performances
yeah.
way back when some of the big hammy actors used to do this kind of style. But actually, it's just a contemporary play. I mean, there are a few rules in the play, the same as there are in all plays.
Of course, yeah.
But apart from that, once you break down the barrier of that language, then it's a contemporary play.
And I think if you're like worried about like going to watch a Shakespeare, it really is 10 minutes max for your brain to switch into understanding the language.
I always say to people, if you're really worried about it, read the synopsis before you go.
Yeah.
You'll get an idea of what's going on. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
But that was, I mean, I'm not an opera person. But if I was going to an opera in Italian, I'd read up on it first of all. So I've got some kind of clear picture of what's going to happen and what the story is about if I didn't know the story.
Yeah.
But I think that it's continued to linger purely because of that. And that over the years, there's been some stunning productions of Shakespeare plays and movies as well. Some great films. And I think sometimes there's these little triggers. Like I remember Hamnet, which is just the film, which I absolutely adore. It's triggered a slightly different interest. It's like, oh, wow, I didn't know this about the story. All right, it's part fictional, but it works as a piece. And that beautiful ending where there's the extract from Hamlet. The other one, the Shakespeare in Love, was another one that's kind of triggered people. And then there was the very interesting production of Romeo and Juliet, the film with
Leo DiCaprio.
That also spurred a new interest. There was an interesting soundtrack in it. The setting was interesting. It felt very modern, very new, but they're still quoting the Shakespeare text.
And even like when they do Shakespeare, like a Lion King, for example, Lion King is
absolutely.
And people love that, and they don't even realize it's Shakespeare.
I mean, the Astra next year are doing Kiss Me Kate, the musical. That's the Taming of the Shrew.
Yeah.
Do you understand me?
Yeah.
So composers and I've latched onto this. I mean, West Side Story, of course, is Romeo and Juliet. You know, Boys from Syracuse is Two Gentlemen of Verona. You know. So I think there's always going to be a place for it.
Yes.
But
absolutely.
I think it's always more important to watch it. Rather than read it. By all means, read it and by all means, analyse it. I'm not denigrating that value. Yeah. But ultimately, it was written to be performed. Do you understand me? And the spectacle of it, watching it as a performance, and then being able to identify, I recognise these character traits in this person, or this, or this, or this. I think that's what makes it timeless.
And I think in Malta, you have plenty of options to go watch it.
Exactly.
MADC have that next week. What's their names? Manuel do their shows. Why do you think that's particularly in Malta? I feel like it's done a lot, Shakespeare.
I mean, in terms of MADC, of course, it is a tradition. I mean, it dates back years and years and years. And you know, so I think it's a bit of a day out. Do you understand me? I mean, in England, where we do Shakespeare's Outdoors, and there are lots going on during the summer. Of course, you have to battle against the British weather, so sometimes it doesn't always work. But in a lot of cases, there are theatres. You take cushions and you sit and you eat strawberries and cream and you watch the. Do you watch the? It's a kind of summer day out. So I think that's the reason why it's endured, because it's always that slot in the summer. Do you understand me? And so I think that's the appeal. And I think. I still think it's like it's a go-to, really. It's kind of like it's a classical piece of theatre, as much as the Greek stuff is. I mean, they did Medea a few years ago. I mean,
beautiful production.
Yeah. I mean, these are hugely. People are quite happy to be educated, and I don't mean that in a patronizing way. It's like, oh, that might be something new.
Yeah.
And we've noticed with the Shakespeares over the last couple of years, because they've been successful, we're getting newer audiences. We're getting our core audience that always likes to come.
Yeah.
But now we're getting a younger audience and people who might not necessarily have gone to a Shakespeare before. I've had people come up to me and say, oh, I saw you in King Lear before. I'd never been to see a show at St. Antoine Gardens. So maybe that was the value of King Lear. Do you understand me? Like nobody had done it. We advertised it as such, you know, it was, you know, it made a big difference. Yeah. And people kind of like, oh, I could identify with it, you know. And I think it's enduring in that sense. Much more than maybe some other plays. Do you understand me?
I think it's one of those that you have to have seen it once.
I think you have to experience it.
It's Macbeth, it's Hamlet, Merchant. I'd put King Lear there. Like these are there in line with some of the Greeks, some Arthur Millers for me.
Exactly.
These are plays you have to have watched.
Especially his latter plays. I mean, the latter plays, you know, the big tragedies, The Tempest, all these kinds of things. I mean, those works are so beautifully. I mean, you know, at this stage he was delving into the human psyche much more. Some of the earlier plays, like Henry VI Part 1, are very roughly structured. Yeah. Whereas these later plays are hugely structured. I mean, you think of Romeo and Juliet and all these kinds of, you know, Julius Caesar, Macbeth, all these. They're highly complex, looking at the human psyche. I mean, The Tempest, which is Shakespeare's last play, it's almost certainly Prospero is based on Shakespeare. How he was feeling at the time, his desire to go back to Stratford and retire. And I mean, you can't get more personal than that. Do you understand me? There was obviously a lot of the man in the writing, especially in the later plays. Hamlet, I think there was a lot of him in Hamlet.
Interesting.
Do you understand me?
Yeah,
I think emotionally he was in not a great place, and I think that reflects within the play. So yes, I agree with you. I think you have to. It's a bit like going to London and watching shows in the West End, and it's great to go there and see wonderful musicals. But you should do the Globe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just for the experience.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the Globe is in a sense a working theatre, but it's also kind of a museum as well.
Yeah, there's which is
and now of course they built another theatre there as well. And but you've got to go for the. I mean, I went the last time I went. It rained, but the show carried on. And I was one of the groundlings that get wet, you know. But you have to experience it.
Yeah. How good. Okay, so before we wrap up, one last quick question, because like I said, you've thought, and MADC plays a big role in like bringing up new practitioners. What is advice that you find yourself giving a lot of like these younger artists?
Well, I mean, this comes from my experience as a professional actor in England. It's a tough industry. I once used to say this to students, and I used to say, if you don't like showing off, don't do performing arts. You know, I'm a born show-off. Do you understand me? I like the feel of an audience's applause, laughter. You know, I love it. It's a huge kick for me. Even now, after all these years, I still get a buzz. I'm still nervous before I go on stage. And also, you've got to be prepared to take the disappointment. And, you know, there's a lot of disappointment. You know, it's quite weird. A lot of shows that I auditioned for when I was in England that I thought I was born to play, I never got. And the ones I didn't think I did very well in, suddenly I got the job. It was kind of a weird scenario. Remember, our perception of ourselves is very different to perceptions of other people.
Of course, yes.
I mean, I thought I was Romeo when I left drama school. Unfortunately, nobody else did. They went, no, he's a serial killer, thug, psycho, you know. So it's about being prepared to take the disappointments. And it's also about passion. I had to, when I went to drama school, I didn't go straight from school. I actually worked in radio. I was a DJ on radio and nightclubs and things like that. But I needed to do all those things to prove to myself I really needed to be an actor. There's no acting in my family at all. There's no theatre in my family whatsoever. Not even grandparents or great-grandparents. No, there's nothing. I don't know where it came from. And so I needed to. You really need a passion for what you do. You need to relish every opportunity. I always say every audition, every performance is a potential audition.
Of course.
You're only as good as the last job you did. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm quite a tough director, but I can't be that bad because people still want to come back and work with me. So I can't be. Do you understand me? It's about being humble as well. I mean, as people used to say to me, what does it take to be a good director? And I say, well, I think firstly, casting. If you cast the right people, half the job is done.
Yeah.
B, if you've got a real clear vision of what you're after. And thirdly, and the most important one is, if the actors come up with better ideas than you do, be magnanimous enough to go, do you know what? That wasn't my idea. That was his.
Yeah.
And I think it's about a passion. And you have to take, there comes a time in your life when you have to take a decision. Do I want to do this as a career, or am I quite happy doing the job that I do because I have to pay bills, and doing it as, and I hate the word hobby because it always sounds like negative.
Yeah.
Doing it part-time, if you like.
Yeah.
And that is a very difficult decision based on the fact that there's no, what I would call, professional setup in Malta. I mean, in Britain, we're unionised. Our fees are all agreed. I have an agent who negotiates my fees. Equity of agreed rates, basic rates for everybody, which any person cannot go below. And, terms and conditions, all of which have been negotiated and agreed over years.
Yeah.
And that's harder here because you don't have that framework.
Yeah. We're getting there.
You are slowly, but I think it is all about passion, and it sounds like a real cliche, but it's about, if you want something hard enough, you follow your dream. Do you understand me?
Absolutely, very great advice. Before we wrap up, let's thank you, Stephen.
Thank you for having me.
Encourage everyone to go watch Hamlet next week. There will also be a production mentioning Arthur Miller of All My Sons being broadcast at the Space Creative Cinema. So I encourage you to go watch as much as you can. See you next week.